Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one I'm still filming for you in Jeju, the little Hawaii type island just off the south coast of South Korea. And for this one we're going to do a third visit to one of the breweries here on the island, which is of course Magpie Brewing Company. And this is one of their beers that from what I gather has only very recently been released. So for this review we're going to have a taste of the sour ale with blueberries and yuja, which comes in at 4.5%. And from what I gather, from what Josie at Josie's Bottle Shop told me, yuja is basically the Korean name for yuzu fruit, and I think everywhere else throughout the world calls it yuzu rather than yuja. So it should be a really interesting one, this, and she told me as well that this is one of the first sour beers that these guys have tried. So really looking forward to trying this one. I've been impressed with the other beers that I've had from them, and thank you again to Josie for pointing me in the direction of this beer. Make sure you check out the link to her Facebook page in the description below, and you can go and check out her shop over on Hop J Beach. You can look at my beer visit. My beer shop visit video rather in the channel as well, and I really do recommend that you come to Jeju. The Koreans are very kind, very beautiful place, and you've got a great bottle shop to go along with it, so a lot of boxes ticked for a trip to Jeju for a lot of you watching the channel. But yeah, really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Magpie Brewing Company before. Hopefully I can add some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for the South Korean beers that I'm reviewing for you, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewing notes then, to tell you a little bit once again about Magpie Brewing Company. So Magpie Brewing Company were founded back in 2011 in Seoul by four friends. So this was Eric Moynihan, Tiffany Needham, Jason Lindley, and also Shubat, who from what I've been led to believe is now a silent partner in the company. But all three of the main guys came to Korea as English teachers, and Moynihan is originally from Canada while the other two are from the US. But apparently Eric and Jason wanted to develop a do-it-yourself kind of lifestyle. They were doing things like cheese making, wine making, and a whole host of other stuff, and they also went on to own a restaurant in Seoul which was called Scout, and it's supposed to be really quite good. I'm not sure if it's still open, but I'll look that up when I make it up to Seoul. But around 2006-2007, Jason got really into homebrewing, and then the three guys just, they kept getting further and further into this hobby, and eventually they decided that they wanted to open up their own brewery. But they also apparently had a TV show which was called Semi-Permanent, that looks into the lives of other expats in Korea, and this aired on the channel Arirang, which is one of the big TV networks here in Korea, and Arirang actually owned the building in which the brewery is now located. It's a former tangerine factory. But in 2012 they opened their brewing space in the Gyeongri-dan district in Seoul, which is apparently quite a sleepy neighbourhood, but they started their beers off with a pale ale, then they introduced the porter because they wanted to let people know what a dark beer could be. The brewery did become a little bit more famed for their pale ales rather than the porter, right enough, but they've expanded ever since that opening up. For a while they've been contract brewing their beers with other breweries such as The Table, Seven Brow, and also Cabrew as well, simply to keep up with the demand for their beers. But later though, they opened up their new brewery in an old tangerine warehouse here on Jeju Island in the tiny village of Donhocheong. But in addition to this, they've also got their bar in the Itaewon district in Seoul. Previously they also had one in Hongdae as well, and they've also got their Bluebird bar in Tapdong area in Jeju City as well. I need to check out the brewery and the little bar when I'm still down here in Jeju. But they offer beer tastings and a brewery tour at the actual brewery, and also home brewing classes as well in the different locations. So you can get guided beer tastings and home brewing classes in all of the locations, but a brewery tour if you actually go and visit the brewery itself. But they now have Mike Romeo as their head brewer. He previously worked for Fano Bryghus in Denmark. I need to check that brewery out as well. I've never reviewed anything from them. I should be able to get their beers fairly easily in Copenhagen. But he also worked for Left Hand Brewing in Colorado as well. But one of the things he apparently really likes to do is to play with the local Jeju ingredients in the beers, and I guess this is why you're getting some of the the local yuzu in this one in particular. But as of July 2019, they've produced just over 60 different varieties of beer, and they're constantly adding different things. But like I said, this is one of the first sour beers that they've produced, and I believe it's one of the first ones that they've canned as well. But the brewery is named after the magpie because, you know, in Korea, this is largely seen as a symbol of good luck, but also as a bringer of good news as well, hence the name Magpie Brewing Company. They wanted to be the bringers of good beer to the South Korean people. So yeah, an interesting brewery, this one. I've been impressed with the two beers that I've tried from them so far, the IPA and the Hopfenweizen, so hopefully this is another one that kind of lives up to the reputation. I think the next beer review that I do from these guys will have to be something from the darker end of the spectrum. Maybe I'll have a little look at their porter. I'll see if I can get a can of that over on the mainland. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Magpie Brewing Company just now, so we can open this beer up and we can get on with the tasting. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open this one up. You know, the artwork on their kind of seasonal releases tends to be a little bit more sort of jazzy and out there compared to the core range. The core range is kind of, it's almost like a little bit of a Scandinavian minimalist sort of thing, but regardless, it is, you know, really quite nice. But I like the way that they've presented this particular beer. It's kind of bright and colourful, the same as the Hopfenweizen can was. Again, this one is a half-litre can, 500 millilitres. I do like it that this brewery are using proper European measurements rather than, you know, doing the thing with these 440 millilitres or 16 fluid ounce can things. I like that they stick to a proper German measurement when it comes to their beer. A half-litre is definitely the way you should go. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. And as you can see, and as you kind of expect in fairness, when it's a nice blueberry beer, you would expect it to be colourless. I would have expected the blueberries to be a little bit more blue, to give the beer a bit more of a blue colour, but you know, the colour isn't the biggest thing, it's all about how it tastes really. There's still a little bit left in the bottom of that, but we'll put that in a little minute. So as you can see with this beer, it's poured this lovely kind of almost burgundy red sort of thing, almost a kind of maroon colour, something like that. It reminds me of the Heart of Midlothian strip, one of the football teams from Edinburgh, for those of you that aren't Scottish and genetically insane like me. But yeah, it reminds me of the colour of the Hearts football strip, in fact, this one. It's a nice, lovely kind of burgundy maroon sort of colour there. You could see there was a solid finger or so of a frothy, I would say kind of purplish coloured head. And also the colour of the head of this one reminds me of the Pander Violet sweets that you used to get in a little mix-up when I was a young lad, if you like. But yeah, a really nice looking beer, this one. Definitely not out with the realms of possibilities in terms of appearance, as you would expect from a sour beer. Probably the colour is definitely leaning more towards the blueberry side of things, although in fairness I would have expected a blueberry sour beer to be a little bit more kind of dark and purplish in colour than this one. So yeah, interesting that in fact. But if you've got yuzus in the beer, maybe that kind of lightens it up a little bit. The yuzus, of course, are these little mini kind of tangerine shaped things, but they're almost just a little bit sharper in their fruits than in their flavours rather, in the citrusy side of things compared to tangerines. But yeah, this one looks like a really kind of interesting beer, this, I have to say. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we got. And the other thing I should point out is that there's not too much carbonation visible in this one, just a couple of bubbles heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Yeah, so that's a really kind of unusual aroma, to be honest with you. Straight away, I mean, you'll pick up the juiciness of the blueberries straight away, but the unusual thing about this one is the yuzus. You know, yuzu, it has almost, in my mind, the yuzu fruit is very difficult to describe unless you've actually tried, you know, some Japanese or Korean foods and things like this. It's almost like you take a lemon and a lime and you mash it together, you give it that kind of pungency, but then you add a little bit of a minty kind of freshness to it in the in the process of that. So it's almost just like a very sharp but quite fresh lemon limey kind of quality, and you can really pick that out of the aroma in this beer as well. There is almost just a little bit of a slightly mint leaf or something like that, an almost minty kind of tea type thing coming out of the aroma of this beer, but the juice, it's got that juiciness from the blueberries kind of underpinning it, but you can also smell the kind of pungency of, you really can smell the pungency of the yuzu pushing its way out of this beer as well. It's almost a bit like, the other thing it kind of reminds me of is like nettles or elderflower, somewhere in the middle of that. So the yuzu, it's this whole kind of combination of really strange different things actually. It's a very, very unique fruit that you just need to try for yourself. The flavour, like I say, really reminds me a bit, it's got a bit of that almost minty freshness to it, but kind of like a lemon lime just mashed together, maybe a bit of a tangerine orange kind of thing in there as well. But in the aroma of this beer, it's definitely almost got a little bit like of a kind of minty tea, herbal kind of thing coming out of the aroma. It's really unusual. It's a little bit like nettles as well in some regards. So yeah, a really strange but very interesting aroma coming out of this beer. So, you know, kudos to Magpie Brewing Company for, you know, mixing this one up. Yeah, I've just noticed it's saying something else on the can here as well. Magpie Juicybox. Ah, yeah, so that'll be the name of this beer then, the Juicybox. The Juicybox Sour Ale. So, yeah, kind of an interesting one. As I say, I need to make sure I put that in the name of the video because I thought it was just called the Sour Ale. But yeah, Juicybox. Yeah, that's a really unusual aroma. I don't think I've ever come across a sour beer that's quite like this one before. So again, as I say, kudos to Magpie Brewing Company for pulling off something that comes across as pretty unusual. Underneath that though, you can pick out, there is a little bit of grassiness and sort of floral quality in there from the hops. I'm wondering if this beer is going to be a Berliner Weiss or something like that. I think it is a Berliner Weiss from what I remember. If it's 4.5%, it probably will be a Berliner Weiss, because you can pick out a nice little bit of a wheaty quality underneath this one as well. It's got a good little bit of a grassy kind of floral note to this one. But as I say, the yuzu really just takes over the aroma, and kind of everything else just gets pushed aside a little bit because of the pungency of the yuzu in this one. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one and just see how we get on. I think this is going to be a really interesting beer. This one is the Juicybox, a sour beer coming in at 4.5% with blueberries and yuja, or yuzu as we would more commonly call it, from Magpie Brewing Company in Jeju here in South Korea. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skull, Gombe. Thanks again to Josie for pointing me with this beer. Oh yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure, style-wise, this one is a Berliner Weiss. It's definitely one of the kind of sharper Berliner Weisses I've come across, right enough. So, you know, the impact that you have on your tongue with this beer is pretty damn sharp. You know, I've been straight up with the chat with you guys on the channel about sour beers since I started doing them. It's a style that I never really used to like, and I've always found even when you try a new sour one, you've got to take 2 or 3 sips of these to kind of properly appreciate them and just let your mouth adjust. So make sure you do that when you're tasting this beer. And I would say that's particularly important with this one when you've got a fruit like yuzu, which does, you know, pack a fair punch. And I'm finding even on the second sip there, it comes in with a hell of a bite on it when you take the first sip out of it. But on that second sip, you know, it becomes more and more juicy, and you start to see the blueberries showing their colours a little bit. So yeah, starting to pick up exactly what this beer is all about now. So yeah, and the way that the malty base comes out on this actually is really, really interesting. So in the middle of your palate, you're going to feel a nice little bit of that smooth kind of wheaty quality that you expect from a Berliner Weiss, and it actually starts to sweeten up the further that you go into the aftertaste with this one. Now I was talking about a sort of tea aroma that you were getting out of this one, a tea, herbally, nettily kind of thing. I mentioned elderflower as well. that elderflower link can just go straight out the window. You know, not really an elderflower quality to this one, but I would stick by the kind of tea and herbal thing. There is almost just a flavour of a tea quality to this beer, which is really unusual. I don't think I've ever had anything like that in a Berliner Weiss or any other sort of sour ale. Bear in mind that this is also the first sour beer that I'm actually trying from South Korea as well, so maybe they take a slightly different approach to things here. But yeah, in the middle of your palate, on top of that wheaty quality, you can just pick up this almost tea-like, slightly herbalish quality to it, and it's a really interesting kind of complexity to the beer. So yeah, the malt base, as you would expect from the Berliner Weiss, very straight up, sort of a nice wheaty quality, blankets the middle of your tongue. Maybe there's a teensy little bit of biscuit, you know, but that's very, very minimal. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get that. As I always say, beer is a bit subjective, so different people will pick up different things, but to me it has this very kind of herbally, almost tea-like quality in the middle of the palate. It does have a little bit of that almost very slightly minty, toothpastey kind of freshness to it, this beer as well, and that's the yuzu. Yuzu, as I said, to me it's lemon, limes and a little bit of that minty, toothpastey freshness kind of thing. So it's a really interesting combination of flavours, this beer. It does say on the can that it's it's 5 IBUs. There's not a hell of a lot of bitterness to this beer, but in fairness, in the back corners of the palate you can pick up a little bit of a slightly earthy quality to this one. They will probably have used German noble hops like Hallertau or Tettnanger in this one. You can pick up a little bit of that almost slightly sweet earthiness that you'll get from either of those hops in this beer. And as you come further forward along the tongue, the sides of the tongue, you'll pick out some of the more floral notes, and round the very front curve of the palate you've got a little bit of that lighter kind of grassy thing. As is always the case with beers though, when you add kind of fruits as adjuncts into the brew, the juiciness from the fruits kind of suppresses the IBU side of the beer. So for me, on the edge of the tongue, you're getting an interesting note of juiciness from the blueberries, but on top of that, the blueberries kind of are juicy in the beginning, but then they fade away, and you get a little bit more of the kind of pungency, the bite, if you like, of the yuzu coming out of this one. But yeah, this is definitely one of the sour beers that I've tried that has a little bit more. It's definitely got a little bit more of a bite to it, this one, and it's a bite in a slightly different way. Some of them you can get and they're very, very sour because of the particular strain of, Lactobacillus or Brettanomyces or whatever it is that are going to use them. I'm very lucky to live in Sweden, where we've got Bryggeriet, who are, a top class sour brewery. And it'd be interesting actually to see these guys do a collaboration with Bryggeriet if they're interested in sour beers, because this one, it does remind me in a lot of ways of some of the stuff that they do. So thumbs up to Magpie Brewing Company for here. They shouldn't be scared to do more sours, because they've done a pretty damn good one on the basis of this beer, and the pungency of that yuzu fruit is crazy in this one actually. I like how that kind of comes across, but on the edge of your tongue there really is this very pungent, citrusy quality to the beer, and it's like I say, the yuzu fruit, it's almost like lemon lime. It's maybe even got a little bit of a pungency, like grapefruit or something like that in there, but it also has this kind of minty, fresh element to it. So you can pick out that around the edge of your tongue, and the edge of your tongue starts off juicy and blueberry, and then it starts to lean a bit more towards the kind of more pungent yuzu fruit aromas, flavours rather, coming out of the beer. And as I always say, with these, whenever you add with the hops with the beer on the fruity side of things, you always get that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate, which is where the juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beers. There's a little bit of a kind of candied strawberry to this one. There is a little touch of a kind of red berry kind of thing going in there as well, so there are a few sort of candied strawberry fruity kind of complexities to this one, but really it's the juiciness of the blueberries that are pushing things out in in this beer as well. So it's really interesting how all of these kind of fruity complexities are playing into this one too. But the thing that really lingers in the aftertaste is the blueberries, the pungency of the yuzus, and also that kind of herbally tea type thing that's going on with this one too. So it's a really interesting and very unique Jeju take on the Berliner Weiss style, if you like. So, you know, it's an interesting beer, this one. This is definitely the most kind of quirky beer I think that I've tried from Magpie so far, and there was a little bit of quirkiness to the Hopfenweisse that I tried before as well, the summer Summit beer. So, you know, have a go at this one for yourself and just see what you think. If you like sour beers and you like things from the likes of Dugas or Breakeriet, I guess Cascade Brewing over in America is the other one, and Brewery Terro as well is the other one. So, you know, it's a really kind of good quality beer, this, and it's very encouraging to see sour beers like this coming out of Asia as well. I think when I think of the beers I've had from Japan and Hong Kong so far, this is, you know, probably the best sour that I've had actually from Asia. So, you know, big thumbs up to Magpie Brewing Company in that regard as well. Don't be scared of following this style through a little bit more. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, then I would say yeah, this one's pretty light bodied in its garden. I've always found sour beers to be a little bit light bodied compared to other styles, just because of the you know, the lactobacillus and the Brettanomyces and things. But for me, this one, it has a little bit of crispness to it. It's mainly a sort of wet, oily mouthfeel you get for this one. It is one of the more oily sour beers I can think of that I've come across in recent times. You know, there's virtually no hoppy bitterness to this one, but in fairness, you can get a little bit of a floral quality out of this one. You've got some really nice juicy fruity notes to this one. It is a little bit drier as well in some ways because of the yuzus. The yuzus really kind of dry out the palate a little bit, and there is that sort of tea-ish, herbally quality to this beer as well that's very unique and very quirky. But overall, a really interesting beer, this one. Probably the most quirky of all the beers that I've tried from Magpie so far, and I do look forward to seeing how they take their sour experiments forward a little bit, because they have pulled off a very, you know, this is probably the most curious, quirky sour beer that I've reviewed on the channel for you. In fact, it is the first yuzu sour beer that I've tried, I think, apart from the yuzu lambic that I had from Showa Beer, the Japanese guy brewing these beers over in Belgium, of course. So yeah, the second sour beer, I told you a lie, the second sour beer I've had involving yuzu, and it's a fruit that definitely works very well, and the yuzu blueberry thing seems to work pretty damn well as well. So yeah, we'll leave it at that for this one, because I feel I'm rambling a little bit now with this particular beer. But overall, really nice. The Juicybox sour beer with blueberries and yuja, or yuzu as we would more commonly know it, from Magpie Brewing Company here on Jeju in South Korea. A really curious beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review it for you. Thank you again to Josie for the recommendation there. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Magpie Brewing Company as well, and hopefully I can return to these guys at some point in the near future. This one is the Juicybox, a sour beer with blueberries and yuzu fruit, coming in at 4.5%. A really interesting Berliner Weiss type beer, this, and I'm glad I was able to review it. So until the next time, Slange just now. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slange, skål, gone bay.